So, a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of the series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week, based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week, we've seen even more big matchups go down, along with some typical drama along the way, so we definitely have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now. So if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Nicholas, and he says that Nikola Jokic is a better floor raiser than prime LeBron James ever was, and his work with Russell Westbrook this season is proof of it. This one caught my eye easily when it was submitted because it's quite a doozy, and the premise behind it, at the very least, is a topic worth diving into. Nikola Jokic is truly a once-in-a-lifetime offensive talent that is genuinely reshaping the way that people in the basketball world view the center position. Not that long ago, we were watching the NBA where if a center had any kind of court awareness and even mediocre passing talent, they were looked at as unique and rare, and the baseline for such acumen was really just if they were able to pass out of double teams in the post and able to drop an occasional backdoor drop-off pass from the high post. A center being one of the best passers in basketball in the entire league was never even something people considered possible just a decade ago, yet now Jokic is legitimately someone capable of elevating an entire offense by himself because of how many different ways he can impact that side of the floor. I'll be the first to say that I was absolutely one of the people who were doubtful about whether the pairing of Nikola Jokic and Russell Westbrook would work out, because Russ's dominant play style historically has been ineffective as an off-ball playmaker, and that just clashes with what the Nuggets want to do and run their system in theory. But as we are now seeing, Russell Westbrook looks more comfortable than he has in years out on the floor, playing freely, bringing positive energy on both ends, and still finding ways to make plays for those around him, with he and Jokic both racking up big assist nights at the same time. In order to accommodate, Jokic is embracing more of a perimeter shooting, pick and pop game into his arsenal, and he's taking a career high amount of threes per game and making them at an elite 47% clip. He's dishing out 10 assists per game still himself, and the Nuggets are in 4th place in the West, starting to find a groove. Jokic is without question an all-time great floor riser, capable of adjusting his game to almost any group of teammates. But even with that being said, LeBron James is still clear in this regard. I know it's been a while, but LeBron's first stint in Cleveland was the definition of carrying, leading those groups to an NBA Finals appearance and a 66-win season with minimal help. He then came back and led the Cavs to 4 straight Finals appearances, including another ridiculous carry job in 2018 after Kyrie Irving had left the team, and he's just on a tier of his own in that regard. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from The Right Way, and he says that if the Miami Heat really want to get back into contention, they need to trade Bam Adebayo, not Jimmy Butler, because Adebayo has not been able to step up at all in Butler's absence. There's no way around it, the Heat are in a pretty tough spot right now. After seeming so close to getting over the championship hump during Butler's early tenure with the team, they've drifted quite far away from that level over the last 2 years, and their approach to contention has been inherently flawed, at least from the outside looking in. With Jimmy Butler aging, the organization has seemed to make their game plan of the future to trust the growth of Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero to develop into legitimate stars in the league, without really focusing on improving other aspects of the roster, hoping that the development of those two can cover things up. But the reality is that neither are really on the level of someone that you want to be handing the keys to the franchise to. Bam Adebayo in particular has definitely regressed this season, there's no denying it, as he's averaging just 16 points per game, shooting a career worst 45% from the field. Even if you go back to when he was playing his best, he was a 20-point scorer with a reliable mid-range mid-range jumper, explosive finishing ability around the rim, and reliable work in the pick and roll, but he's never really been a go-to scorer that you can trust to generate good looks out of nothing. Tyler Hero is having his best season yet this year, averaging a highly efficient 24 points per game, but he's been thrust into a number 1 scoring role when realistically he's far better suited in a number 2 role at best. They simply will not be able to contend with those two players being the best players in a lineup, but going back to the original take, that doesn't mean that you have to trade Bam Adebayo to get there. Bam's defensive work is truly top tier, he's highly impactful when he doesn't have to do more on the offensive end than he's comfortable with, and it's okay to prop someone up with their strengths without dragging them down for their shortcomings. If or when Jimmy Butler gets traded, the Heat are probably going to struggle for a bit, but the real thing that needs to change in that regard is the front office's willingness to get aggressive on the open market. That's when they'll get back into contention. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Sad Wolves fan, and he says that Alperen Sengun is the new Julius Randle with similar production, similar strengths, and unfortunately similar weaknesses. This is a comparison that I haven't ever heard before, but the idea being floated out there is worth an investigation. Alperen Sengun has been called Baby Jokic because parts of his game, and admittedly his appearance, are reminiscent of Nikola Jokic when he was on the rise, but Jokic is legitimately an all-time great, so expecting Sengun to emerge to that degree just isn't realistic. There's obviously a lot to be excited about with Sengun, but finding a more realistic comparison for him hasn't really come about. Possibly until now, though. Julius Randle is a multiple-time All-Star, a multiple-time member of the NBA's All-League team, and he's been known to stuff the stat sheet quite a bit, so a fellow big man rising through the ranks with Sengun, he could look at those numbers and absolutely be elated to replicate them, but unfortunately the reality is that Julius Randle and his playstyle carry a negative connotation for a reason, and his weaknesses have proven to be tough to overcome sometimes. Randle's a talented passer, there's no question about it, he's just not always a willing passer, which is where the problems arise. When he gets the ball, he slows the game down and dribbles the air out of the ball, and his decision making and shot selection have always left a lot to be desired. For that alone, that's probably where the Sengun comparison actually dies for me, because while his numbers may appear similar to Randle on paper, Sengun is a much more fluid decision maker with the ball in his hands, and he's a very willing player to find the open man for an assist within the flow of the offense. Defensively, Sengun definitely has a long way to go, which could be worrisome down the line, but overall, I don't see Sengun becoming the type of all-star talent that gets in the way of meaningful basketball like Randle does at all. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.